2025 at 6 p.m. We are at the Police Station Conference Room, 64 Middle Road. It's a meeting of the Master Plan Committee. Is there a motion to call the meeting to order?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Davinian. We have now a roll call vote.
Ryan Zendi's a yes.
Yes. Yes.
Steve Davinian's a yes. Steve Boucher's a yes. I'm a yes. Mr. Gasper's a yes. Peter Guyama, are you on? Can you hear us?
Yes.
You're a yes?
Yes.
We're having a hard time hearing you, Pete.
Yeah.
But, okay. So the meeting is now open. Quorum attendance, we just kind of did that. Mr. Boucher's present. Mr. Peter Giambi is on Zoom. Kevin Gasper is here. Dave Davinian is here. Peter Benoit is not here. Ryan Resendes is here. Jesse St. Gelais is not here. Paul Sullivan is here. Melissa Cadera is not present either. So, and we don't have Kelsey Janik or Jacob Pollarino on Zoom either, so. All right, the first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes of November 13th, 2025. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Boucher. A roll call vote. Mr. Resendes?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yeah.
Mr. Davinian?
I'll abstain.
I will have to abstain as well because I was absent. Peter Giamba?
I'll have to abstain.
No, he was.
He was absent.
Oh,
He was absent
He's
too.
absent from the 9th.
says you were there, Kevin.
Huh?
Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Is that October 9th?
Yeah, I'm on October. I don't have a problem. I read the minutes, I watched the video. I don't have a problem being a yes as well, so that'll pass through. I did watch the meeting. Mr. Vice Chair, very good job.
Thanks.
Okay, and there's a second set of minutes for October 9th that needs to be approved. Is there a motion to approve the October 9th, 2025 minutes?
Motion to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Boucher, roll call vote. I am a yes. Mr. Resendes?
Ryan's a yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Davinian?
I'm abstaining.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Peter Giamba?
He was absent.
He was absent. Okay. All set with that too. So the first order of business we have is public engagement update, OSRP survey responses. I'll turn it over to Sarah
Yes.
or Joe, whoever wants to take that.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm not able to connect to the Teams meeting, so I can read them to you. And maybe you can screen share.
Yeah, we're just gonna go over the summary that we have for the writing. We have a big section within the OSRP about all the survey responses, but we have a couple summary paragraphs just written out.
All right. Summary of resource protection needs. Residents, by the way, we received 74 responses from Acushnet residents. There were a total of 30 questions. And most of them were about the OSRP, and then the latter half were for the water resources strategy. Residents consistently expressed a desire for stronger protection of Acushnet's natural resources and rural character. Many respondents emphasized the importance of preserving open space, reducing overdevelopment, and preventing the conversion of natural lands into large-scale solar installations. Several comments highlighted concerns about the loss of traditional recreational landscapes, especially the former Girl Scout camp, and called for the retention of conservation lands, forested areas, and river corridors. Some residents also pointed to environmental health concerns such as Lyme disease associated with certain conservation areas, and requested clearer stewardship strategies to maintain safe and ecologically resilient open spaces. Others stressed the need for better communication and visibility regarding existing trails and conservation lands, along with improved connections to riverfront areas and potential shared access opportunities, such as beach arrangement similar to those found in neighboring communities. Overall, the public sentiment strongly supported safeguarding remaining open spaces while improving responsible access to them. Here's the summary of community needs. A major theme in community feedback was the need for more accessible, inclusive recreational facilities for children, seniors, and individuals with disabilities. Multiple residents called for accessible playgrounds, especially at Pope Park, as well as expanded public transportation options to ensure that older adults and people with mobility limitations can reach the recreational amenities. Beyond accessibility, residents identified several recreational gaps, including a desire for pickleball courts, additional children's programs, safer walking and biking opportunities, and more sidewalks or bike lanes along key corridors such as Main Street and Lake Street. Many respondents also expressed interest in new or expanded indoor recreation facilities, such as an indoor sports center, community gym, youth and teen center, and indoor playground options for the winter months. Others suggested community-oriented programming such as farming experiences, maple syrup or apple cider demonstrations, and more outdoor cultural events. Collectively, comments reflect a desire for a broader range of accessible, multi-generational, and seasonally adaptable recreation. Parks and open space equity. Respondents highlighted significant gaps in public awareness, communication, and equitable access to Acushnet's parks and open spaces. Several residents noted that the town website lacks basic info on local trails, conservation lands, parking options, and available recreational amenities.
Sorry. I thought I was over it already.
Making it difficult for residents to discover and utilize these resources. A number of people expressed surprise at the existence of just lost my place. A number of people expressed surprise at the existence of certain sites and emphasized the need for clear signage, trail maps, better promotion of facilities, and more consistent outreach to the public. Others expressed concerns about uneven access to well-maintained recreational areas, stating that some locations appear neglected, under-advertised, or difficult to find. The comments underscore the importance of improving communication tools, digital resources, public signage, and mapping to create more equitable access to parks, trails, and open spaces. And this is the last paragraph. Management needs potential change of use. Many residents identified the need for more consistent maintenance, clear signage, and facility upgrades across numerous parks, open spaces, and public gathering areas. Common concerns included deteriorating sidewalks, overgrown vegetation, aging facilities such as the Hamlin Street building, and under-maintained areas like Riverview Park. Respondents called for improved general upkeep, expanded walking areas, cleaner and wider trails, and more inviting public spaces to support longer visits. Significant attention was given to upgrades at the town golf course, including requests for a new clubhouse or multi-purpose space for year-round use, and to generate community revenue. Some comments addressed broader land management issues such as the demolition of the Girl Scout camp for residential development, the need to preserve historically important properties, and clarity around stewardship responsibilities for cemeteries and other public lands. Overall, the residents emphasized a desire for enhanced maintenance, thoughtful reinvestment in existing facilities, and careful decision-making around future property uses. wanted to show more. Okay, it's finally let me into the meeting, so now I can screen share. And now I'll show you what the raw survey results look like. The first two questions are demographic. Most people were answering on behalf of their family, but that was about 60%. And about 57% did not have kids living with them. This question was, which, if any, of the following activities have you or your family members participated in during the past year? And I'll show you the legend. It's quite long. So yellow is, I can't read the whole thing. Well, you can see it here as well. And I have summarized this in our document. It's clear there. Here's the same question. And in this table that I constructed, it's ordered from highest to lowest. So you can see the most popular activities up top. Walking, running the neighborhood. Outside Acushnet, swimming was very popular. In and out of Acushnet, it was walking, hiking, and trail running. People were saying that they wish they had fitness trails and sailing and boating options, picnic areas in Acushnet. And these three were not of interest. These were the most unpopular activities that folks are not interested in. Youth summer camp, hunting, trapping, and soccer. And this goes on, but the most significant results are the ones up top.
And this is part of the OSRP document, right?
Yes, it is currently, but my boss advised me today that it's best if we move it out into a separate appendix document just to avoid this from getting too cluttered and heavy.
Okay.
But you'll receive that too separately.
Great.
Would you like me to go through all of these results, or do you feel like you have the gist?
Can you go back to that screen where you said people weren't interested in certain things in the last column over? Because I find that interesting. That's, I think it was 67% said they're not interested in soccer. I don't know what is that, 67% of the 70-something participants? Because
Yes.
you drive by our schools on a weekend, the place is mobbed. So I look at wherever, what is the soccer that are not interested. I guess maybe they didn't participate, but surely they're interested in soccer. Because
I would go to the question where it talks about age and then go back to that question, because it might have been a much older crowd, like
out of the 74 participants,
Yeah.
that's all that this is sharing is what 74 people
yeah,
have suggested.
Correct.
All right, so
Right.
it's a small sample.
yeah,
Yes.
super small.
All right, I get it. So it's only 70% of 74.
Right.
So
Does it state that at the top of, will it state it clearly that this
Yes.
is a sample of 74 people out of 10,800 or whatever?
Yeah.
The top one was also youth summer camp, so it might be just a much older crowd was taking it, so.
And there's this another option that was a little more popular, youth sports leagues. So maybe where people were thinking like, yeah, I want that for my kids, but for myself, I don't want to play soccer.
yeah, it's kind of convoluted the way, I guess. I don't know exactly how I see it, which, if any of the following activities have you or your family members participated during the past year. Again, it should show the demographics of whoever was polled in that 74
Yeah.
group of 74, age-wise, I don't know if you have it broken down where 10 of them were, 15 to 25, 25 to 35, you have 5 people, and then, the rest of them were all 50 plus. Because people look at that and they're kind of looking at it going like I just did, that's really not a representation of our town, I can tell you looking right at it.
Youth sports, I mean, when you add up the Little League, the basketball league.
The place is
and the
smoking.
soccer, I mean, that number's upside down. It really
Yeah,
is.
we're, I mean, I can tell you this, as far as sports go, and I think Mr. Davinian can contest to it as well, but when my kid was, I'm talking 23 years ago, when he was playing at Pope Park, the place was a disaster, right? We did the best we could with the resources we had at that point, but then the town made a heavy commitment in rehab in Pope Park and bringing it like it is today, where I call it pretty much state-of-the-art facility compared to what we had 23 years ago. We used to go to state championships and other places, and you were actually embarrassed to come home and play and bring those teams from outside of town here because we just didn't have what they had, and that's kind of what spurred that generation. I was included in that to make some investments at Pope Park along with many other great people in this community and really brought that to fruition. So, and I know that my colleague Selectman Mona was instrumental in working with Acushnet Favorite Soccer League to bring it over to the schools, soccer fields over at the schools. And like I said, Mr. Davinian, he lives not too far away. I mean, I don't live far away from the schools, but Mr. Davinian's a lot closer than I am. And he drives by on the weekend just like I do, and the place is just rocking. I mean, we built additional parking lots and it's still overflowing out to the street.
Both sides of the street this summer, I was like, wow.
I know,
what's
and we
going
built
on?
an additional parking lot for us, so it's really, like, athletics have really taken off in Acushnet.
Would you like to see all of the raw results in
No.
SurveyMonkey or
Now, we know
later?
it's a small sample of 74, and
Okay.
that's what this
You
is
can
talking
always
about.
send me the data and I can always send it out.
I think for
the
clarity,
people
if it's gonna be
interested.
posted in the master plan and you see it down in the bottom corner, 74 responses, I think maybe it should be a little bit bigger and more highlighted of what each survey and how many respondents you have for each one. So people aren't looking at it and go, well, look, it's so important, but then when
Right.
you look down at it and you see, well, there was only 30 people responded to that survey, there's 74 responded to this one. It's a small sample, they matter, I mean, everybody matters, everybody's opinion matters, I get it. But you don't want to put too much emphasis on something when you have a small amount of people speaking on it, right? Like Mr. Davinian said, our population's 10-7, 10-8,
Right.
so that's a tiny sample.
That's why it'll be in the appendices too, it's just like a reference, it won't even be in the main part of the plan, the summaries and stuff of like what the survey was. So as far as like all the data, all this stuff, it'll be an attachment at the very end.
Okay, cool.
So,
Very good.
What's next?
Water resource management strategy,
All
the draft.
so we're gonna do the same thing we did last week, guys. Just going over the water resource management goals and strategies. I'm not gonna read through it this time, but none of these goals and strategies are really new. These are just like the narrative writings for each one. They're broken into 4 different sections, and this is how most water resource management plans are: quality, quantity, ecological health, and then recreation. So I think you guys have all seen like the main goals before, and then these are just kind of expounding upon the narratives to each one and what each section is kind of going to be like when we talk about these things. So if you guys have comments on the way we're talking about it or want something changed, definitely let us know. I'll let you guys like read through this if you haven't yet. But as far as quality recommendations, 1.1, improve wastewater infrastructure by increasing metering accuracy, reducing losses from inflow and infiltration. 1.2, explore a potential intermunicipal agreement with the town of Fairhaven to expand sewer service. 1.3, continue to pursue sewer expansion consistent with the town's CWMP to address nitrogen pollution and enhance the town's ability to attract and retain commercial businesses.
Just, Joe, I would divert that statement to Mr. Davinian. He's really the go-to guy from Board of Health, and he understands a lot about nitrogen. I don't know, Dave, if you have any thoughts on, I know it says about expanding sewer to limit the amount of nitrogen pollution, but I don't know how you feel about that. kind of verbiage, any concerns over that verbiage?
To be honest with you, I have to read it through. I didn't before I attended tonight, but I will. And
Okay. Yeah, pretty much all the writing on this is referenced from the 2019 CWMP. Obviously sewer has a bunch of different benefits to it, but nitrogen pollution, and then also to retain commercial businesses. So there's economic development and environmental benefits here, and there's just general conditions that we're talking about in there, and then, but mostly it's going to be from the CWMP and just talking a lot about that. So, yeah, if you.
That's fine. I would just ask you, Mr. Dominion, if you could review it and pass on any comments you may have to Victoria on especially the nitrogen discussion, right? You know what we went through a little while back with the Buzzards Bay Coalition, right?
Yeah.
In the state with this
Oh, yeah.
nitrogen crap. So, and I get it, it's sewer. We could, trying to expand sewer and things of the like. It's great. There's always costs associated with it for residents, and that's the biggest hurdle is trying to get things approved by taxpayers, right?
Yeah.
But I agree. I think we need sewer if we can do it at an affordable rate. I think a lot of people will be interested in sewer expansion, right? And just cost drives demand, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the other goals we are going to get into is education campaign of what is the benefit of sewer, why it's good for the town and also good for individuals. I think that's it.
Okay.
It's actually the next one. Develop a public education campaign to establish costs of sewer tie-in versus septic repair and upgrade for the 2027 town meeting. That's a 1.4. 1.5, reduce stormwater pollution through nature-based solutions / green infrastructure. And then we're moving on to the quantity section after that. 2.1, address flooding concerns through a variety of traditional and NBS interventions, matched to specific priority sites where these interventions are feasible and have high potential for impact. 2.2, update the drinking water intermunicipal agreement with New Bedford to support continued services.
Could you slow down a bit? There's some kind of lag.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just taking.
They have it all in front of them.
Yeah, it's all-
For the
Okay.
people listening, I'll slow down a little bit. And then the third section is ecological health recommendations. 3.1, take ownership of the New Bedford Reservoir to manage maintenance and stewardship from ecological health purposes, especially invasives removal. 3.2, implement best practices and strategies for managing the Acushnet River to restore fish habitats. And then for recreational recommendations, take ownership of the New Bedford Reservoir to manage maintenance and stewardship for recreational purposes. So 4.1 and 4.3 are kind of similar because obviously the reservoir is neglected because of the current ownership right now. So 3.1 is for specific to removing invasives, and then 4.1 is for maintenance, stewardship, and recreational purposes of the reservoir. So,
there's nothing in there about the city of New Bedford dumping sewage overflow into the river. Every time we get heavy rainstorms, there's a notification sent to the Board of Health. It happens like a dozen times a year. So basically, when their system's overloaded, it dumps into the river. And it's a cost of.
yeah, the combined sewer overflow. So we do actually have some writing on this. We have a map of where the combined sewer overflows are.
How many?
They're all on the other side.
They're on, I know.
It's on the other side, but the time comes to us.
Yeah.
Like
so-
by the, just the sawmill,
Yeah.
I believe there's one over there. There's a sign when you walk down the path. Don't go over here.
Yeah, and like as far
Oh, God, I didn't know
that can be like a
that.
frustrating thing for us to write about because like we can only make recommendations for like you guys. So it's like New Bedford, like we can write about like where
I
some
know,
of the
I
stuff's
just, I
coming
think
from
it
and
should
stuff.
be out there in print.
Yeah.
You know,
We have writing on it for
Okay.
sure.
Because I somehow, I don't know, we implemented it into the plan. So it's just there because
Yeah.
down the road, DEP tries to jam us up for, nitrogen in the river,
Yeah.
and we're not the source.
Mm-hmm.
They're 90% of the source, and they're gonna try and
So
shove
super.
D9 systems in our way, saying,
Yeah.
because that's one thing they could go attack people with,
Mhm.
and control.
And one of the things you could do for that is just do testing above where the CSOs are in the river, and then do it below the road. Like do like a little water testing that it's not very expensive at all, but you could pretty much see how much would be coming from the CSOs depending on where they are in the river. If you did testing above and then below,
Yep.
you could see like how much of it is actually coming from those as well.
So Joe, and Mr. Davinian, I didn't realize that one of the overflows is that close in the Acushnet sawmill. That's only right down the street from here. But I had our MS4 engineer, stormwater engineer, Conoco engineers. I had them test for nitrogen on all our outfalls while they were in here testing. I asked them how much would it cost us, for the simple fact that Mr. Davinian's talking about right now, because they've come and tried to say it's because of septic systems, nitrogen levels in the Acushnet Harbor River are so high. And, we argued, Mr. Davinian did a great job arguing, I argued at that meeting as well, as I think before you start blaming every Tom, Dick, and Harry that has a small septic system along the riverfront and anywhere really in the community, and you start telling us we're spending $40,000 on nitrogen systems for our small little yards, you have to go after the big fish first, which is the city of New Bedford and the town of Fairhaven, because they both discharge into the harbor, right? So at that point, after we got through that meeting and they kind of backed off a little bit with some help of our state reps and our state senator, sending letters to them, I specifically asked our MS4 engineer that I wanted to start, along with the Board of Selectmen, start monitoring all of near our outfalls for nitrogen. So we nitrogen test now yearly. So we can see what's happening. I can have another conversation with him and make sure that, as you just spoke with Joe, going a little further upstream to measure the water quality and nitrogen loads there before they enter into, like, I'll talk to Mr. Davinian a little bit more, but that was news to me that one of the overflow outfalls are right here at the sawmill. That's a bit alarming to me. I wasn't aware of that, but now I am. So I can follow up with Mr. Davinian off camera. We can have a little discussion about that. Maybe him and I can take a walk out there and take a look at it. And I can bring the town's MS4 engineer out there to make sure he's pinpointing that in the sampling test as well, because I ask them every year I want to do it so we can measure and see where we're at, right, whether we're going up or down. So when they're out there telling us, oh my God, you've gone up 20 points on nitrogen, I can sit there and say, the town of Acushnet, we test every one of our outfalls and we're pretty much stagnant, so we know it's not coming from us, right? So, and stop picking on our residents, because Mr. Davinian brought up the point where you're going to just collapse every Acushnet resident that is required to put a nitrogen system in. And he does this stuff for a living, so,
Heavy rainfalls, we gotta test after heavy rainfalls.
Right.
That's when the culprit comes out.
So what we'll do is, I'll have them do double sampling, right? I'm gonna have them do it under normal conditions, and then I'll have them come out, and I'll have them do it under heavy rainfalls as well, and do sampling here and see what that difference is, right? And we'll just keep that monitoring effect in place, so if we have to do it twice a year, so be it. I know it's not that expensive, and we have funding for our MS4 engineer. If it's an extra $5,000 to protect our taxpayers of Acushnet, I'm all about it.
Yeah, and you can really pinpoint like where that source is coming from, because if you're like half a mile up and it's this much nitrogen, then you go down a little bit and then it's way more, you can be like, okay, you can point to where it's coming from
You
essentially.
do Lake Street, then Hamlin Street,
Yeah,
and you hit. right
all the way down, yeah. Wherever we have access
Places down,
points,
you can
right?
see the increase as you roll down with the river. It might get bigger, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, anybody who would be blaming Acushnet when there's all those CSOs on the other side, so that doesn't make sense. Like everybody, when you look at the map and see how many combined sewer flows are all on that side, I mean, that's where the majority of that is coming from.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sullivan?
there's so many things that have to be understood about where everything's going with sewer and septic and all of that. There's a lot of time gonna be developed, things to develop over time. But I think one of the biggest things here is section 1.4, once we do get some answers or some data, developing the public education to establish costs for sewer tie-ins versus septic repair and upgrades for the 27 town meeting. So that's a couple of years away, well, actually a year and a half away.
Yeah.
Are we really gonna be able to get enough data to know that? And is the input of Buzzards Bay Coalition and the Mass DEP gonna be involved with all this too? I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah, there's a lot there.
I tend to agree with Mr. Sullivan. I think 2027, knowing where we're at in the town of Acushnet, I think that's a very aggressive date.
Yeah.
I would probably, give us some time because of,
For sure.
there's so many other things happening right now, and Victoria knows that, there's a lot of things that need to be done, and a lot of organizational steps need to be taken within the town right now. So, I think putting a 2028 date on it, by the time you go to print, we're gonna be at this meeting.
Yeah, we don't even have to put a year in there. We can keep it, we can do 2028, but we're gonna go over that too as far as the action plan, the 10-year action plan. We can go through that as well for 1.4.
Yeah, if you just, on that 1.4, it's a good catch, Mr. Sullivan, I would just say septic repair and upgrade for a town meeting.
A town meeting.
Something like
That
that,
makes
right?
sense.
There is a lot of, amongst all the other discussions that planning's having, Board of Health's, pretty easy conversations with Board of Selectmen and Board of Health to narrow things down, and then over to planning, to have those conversations, and it depends on the scope of development and things of the like, right?
But I certainly believe that education campaign is gonna be so important to the town residents.
So when you do, and I've seen prior, Mr. Boucher could talk on it, I know I believe he was on the Board of Public Works back in the 08 era when we did the last sewer phase. The betterments are just ending up now on that betterment, and I've advocated for years where if we're gonna do it, and it requires a town meeting, right? So for a sewer phase, for a betterment, it's gotta get approval by town meeting, and then the Board of Selectmen, the ultimate borrowing authority, right? So I've always said, if you're gonna do a sewer betterment, it will never be in a blanket town meeting where you have, so we did 2 phases, if you look at the CWMP, Nice Lane down to basically right over here in front of the fire station where we're at PD right now. The next building over is where the sewer stub is, right there, it ends there. We'd have to go down about a mile down the road to Nice Lane. We have roughly 320 residents on the east and west side, including Middle Road. And then if you go to, when we moved phase 1 to over here versus phase 1 was identified as CWMP for South Main Street. And the only reason why we did that is because we thought there was development, a lot more land down here for development that might be possible, open space for development owned by private landowners, and it's easier digging here. And the majority of those residents are on the east side, which is all gravity fed to Middle Road, and versus trying to get through the ledge going down South Main Street. And I know South Main Street is now being discussed from the state with the town to look at design factors and maybe the town taking over South Main Street somewhere down the road. It's a very touchy conversation depending on who you talk to. I can talk to 20 people, 10 might tell me it's a great idea, 10 might tell me it's a bad idea. The next time I talk about it with 20 people, all 20 people are saying hell no. The next time I talk to 20 people, they all might be saying hell yeah. So that's a whole different subject matter, but to go back to the CWMP, it's very difficult digging on that side of town because of the ledge, hence the quarries there. But there's a ton of ledge on that side of town, so we thought if you were gonna bring it in and try to drive down costs on the current sewer users, which we have about roughly 1,000 sewer users, this would be the place to go first because it's a lot easier digging, and we could bring on 33% more sewer users and drive down the cost of sewer rate and fixed costs for the budget, which equals rate on those current users, because our sewer rate is pretty exorbitant. We don't have a choice. We have a fixed rate from the city, but we also have fixed costs in the budget, and that's how you make up. You get maybe, I think our rate's like $5.50 from the city, call it $5.50 right now. we're at like $10 is our lower rate, and we have tiered rates, right? It's like 10, 11, 12, depending on usage. So you can see how that rate is almost doubled just from small amount of fixed costs in the budget. You know what I mean? So the more users we can get on the system, the further down we can drive rate, at least stabilize rate, without, crushing the current 1,000 users. And I know Mr. Boucher is a current sewer user, and he can talk about rate and how much that hurts on top of regular tax increases and things of the like. That's what a lot of people don't realize, is you have water rates increasing, you have sewer rates increasing, you have tax rates increasing, i.e. value of homes increase, tax rate can go down, but your tax bill's still going up. It starts to hurt people, especially those on fixed incomes, right? So that's why I was the advocate who used money to approve the CWMP. I think that was at a 2017 town meeting. I got $300 and something thousand approved at that town meeting, fought tooth and nail to do it, so we could get the CWMP and start moving forward with more sewer. So sewer's it's something I'm extremely interested in expanding. It's just you've got to be very careful on how you do it, and you got to do your best to educate. And when we do a town meeting, if we did this section from here to here, I would invite the 320 people only to that town meeting to vote on whether or not they're going to get sewer stuff down their throat, whether they want it or not. I'm not going to allow people from the other side of town to come to town meeting and vote in favor of me paying an additional $15,000 to $20,000 for sewer in front of my house. That's totally unfair to those users, right? So as long as you do it right and you're as honest as you can be and as transparent as you can be, you give it your best shot.
Have you heard anything about Fairhaven's sewer project? Have you guys?
I have. I actually, we had a Veterans Day parade not too long ago. I spoke with a gentleman from Fairhaven that's responsible for Fairhaven's sewer systems. He's a very intelligent man. He actually lives here in town. I was introduced to him from one of my colleagues, so we shot the breeze, and he's looking forward to having a conversation with me. And I did tell him right off the rip, we did look at this back in 14-15 when the Board of Selectmen took over sewer from the townspeople, dissolved Board of Public Works. But their rate was so much higher than the city, because again, I talked about this before, we're hand-tied to the city of New Bedford's sewer rate because of a grant we got in the late 60s, early 70s with the federal government for the first phase of sewer on Slocum area, right?
Yeah.
So they can't, whatever they charge their residents, they have to give us that same rate. Fairhaven's rate is a lot higher. And they're going through a sewer treatment plant upgrade. And by the way he talked to me about those costs, he said, oh, we'd be extremely interested in talking to you. Sure you are, because your cost is so expensive, you want, that burden to come here. I said, the problem is if your rate is already 30% higher than what we're paying from the city, and now you got all this nitrogen, and I know the city's gonna hit us with the nitrogen thing as well too, because they're gonna have to upgrade their plant, but I mean, it's just even if the factor is the same amount, that disparity remains the same, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tricky balance. It's kind of whatever we can get out of people, and maybe Fairhaven would say, well, we'd be willing to do this if we could get, and again, that phase is like 300. It was only like 20 or 30 less at the current households that are there versus this phase. It was only like 20. I think that was like 290, 295, and this was like 320.
Okay.
So it would be a lot easier to punch through from Fairhaven, and even some of it might get a little tricky, but not as tricky as if we were coming from where we stop at Pagod and down by the Century House, Sharmet Auto and all that stuff. That's where our sewer stops, right? And then you would also, it's tough because the west side of Main Street, you would have to have pumping stations down there because you can't gravity feed uphill, right? So you'd have to pump up, and perhaps even the east side, the way the slope of the roads go, it's possible you might need some sort of pumping station on there as well, just to get out to South Main Street and push it. But that would be engineered, obviously. We'd have to have somebody come in and engineer that system to design it. That's part of the betterment cost, right? What you do need, what you don't need, blah, 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 blah.
Did he say whether they would have to, like they can't lower the rate from what they charge Fairhaven, or can they do a separate deal with us for a lower rate?
So we haven't gone that far, but I would think that would be a really ugly situation if I put myself in that person's shoes that says, if we're charging, I'm gonna charge my taxpayers $10 per 100 cubic feet, and that new community that's coming on board, we're gonna give you a deal, we're gonna give you it at
But if
$8.
But if it lowers their rates that they currently have, because they gotta pay for that.
Yeah, the solution to pollution is dilution, right? So, I get
Because
it.
they got Fairhaven, I mean, Mattapoisett too, and Mattapoisett, they have allocated like 500,000, but they only use like 300,000 or something like that. There's like, they want the business, you know. Fairhaven, but
The
Mattapoisett's
door
gonna
is
expand
wide,
this-
the
yeah.
door is wide open, right? We could do it because it's a sewer system. You could never do shared water, which they wouldn't do anyway, because most of their water is well, but the city of New Bedford, the second you do that, it's cross-contamination. They shut down every main coming into the town of Acushnet and say, you're on your own, hope you get enough water from Fairhaven's wells, right? So that's something that could never be done, but a sewer phase for the south side of town is definitely dependent on certain economic developments that the town is exploring now out back of the quarry, punching through a bypass road to get back there. I think that that's something that the town has to, at some point, at least acknowledge and have that conversation with Fairhaven. So I was, again, asked to sit down and start that dialogue with them and see where it could lead and bring it back to the town at some point, right? That's what I'm, hopefully we can do.
I think there's a junkyard over there,
Who
South
knows?
Main, that would take advantage of it.
Yeah, I know, somebody's already had a conversation with that man. We'll call him Mr. R.
So this here is our spreadsheet, the action plan, similar to what you saw last time for the OSRP focused discussion, but this is the action plan for the water resources strategy. And it reflects all those same goals and strategies that Joe just went through. But in this format, we can get a little more granular. And I'd like to do that exercise with you again, where we selected the priority level: high, medium, low. And I also want to confirm, does the timeline make sense? Some of these will take a whole decade, ongoing effort. Some of these need to be attacked more immediately.
What's that first one?
Let me zoom in.
Improve wastewater infrastructure. So that can't just say DPW, that has to say Board of Selectmen. And I would actually add Board of Health. I think Board of Health, anytime we're talking about sewer and septic systems, that's a dialogue. As far as I'm concerned, as one member of the Board of Selectmen, I would like to have that open dialogue with the Board of Health too. They have a lot of knowledge when it comes to that.
Don't you have a metering, a policy where you do so many meters a year? Is there something?
What's?
It says increase metering accuracy.
Oh, that's what that is? I just seen wastewater infrastructure, I apologize. Yeah, so Board of Selectmen, you can give it a Board of Health on that one, I apologize, I didn't realize, but yeah, we do, well, yeah, so we're learning more and more as we don't have our water and sewer administrative business manager in the office anymore. We have some new people taking over certain things, we're learning a lot of things, some not so positive, some positive, but yes, we do have a metering plan. I adopted that when we first took over. The Board of Selectmen took it over. There's a meter fee in there. We're supposed to do roughly 300 meters a year over the course of 10 years because we have roughly 3,000 plus a little over 3,000 water users in town. So when the meters, they say, are roughly good for 10 years, and so, you know, we get a lot of, you know, the MTUs don't work right now, and there's supposed to be a program, there's supposed to be spreadsheets. We have them for so much, but we don't have them for so long, so that's kind of what we're uncovering right now, and we're trying to figure out everything to put a better policy and plan in place to make sure it's actually happening versus what has been happening.
When was that metering plan developed?
2014, I spoke on it right when we took over the Board of Public, so we can say 2015 if you want.
Okay.
Give me a little leeway time on it. But when we took it over, we did all our rate settings and things of the like. I know I was instrumental with the town administrator back then, Mr. Catino, developing, you know, how the billing was going to be done. And I also broke out this $207,000 of debt costs in the water budget. That translates to $80 a year on each water user for debt service, and we broke that out individually because over the last 2 decades prior to that, the old Board of Public Works was just manipulating rates and trying to guess at what everything was, and now what accounting and GASB rules, which is an accounting rule, they don't allow you just to stop manipulating rates and having guessing games. You really have to have your ticket cards in order, your house in order. So we were really definitive, and that's why we started breaking all of that out on a water bill. You'll see a meter fee. You're gonna see the debt service charge fee of $20 a quarter, right? And then you get your water rate for the amount of water consumption you're using. So,
That can just be a continuation to the 26.
yeah, it's in place. I mean, we're internally already doing it, meter accuracy, because I've just abated a couple of bills actually, because things went out and people get estimated water bills, and I'm like, and now that I'm more involved, because we lost that employee and I'm working with a new employee, because I know a lot about water and sewer, and I'm like, well, why would we have an estimated water bill if we have a MTU, which is a meter read system, and we have new meters being installed? And I get, good question, Kev. So I'm like, okay, so we'll get to the bottom of that, right? It's either one or the other, right?
Yeah.
And then I have to hear the whole song and dance about cogs in a meter, and it clicks, and I was like, it doesn't matter. We know there's a fault in the system, and our machine's not reading that meter. Go fix it. I mean, everybody's meter should be working, because we know, we can look at that machine, we get alerts. We got an alert 2 days ago. Someone decided to put a water line from their house by themselves out to, I guess it might be a pool shed. I was just told a shed. And I was like, why would you have water in a shed? So I said, maybe it's a pool shed. I'm still working with my new water person that we have doing the job. But they blew the line because they didn't bury it far enough, and with the cold, it bursted the line, and they used 500 cubic feet in like a night. So, not our problem, that's on their expense, but that's what happens when you put a water pipe in the ground 6 to 8 inches instead of 18 plus inches deep, right?
Awesome.
So, I mean, the system tells us that. I mean, you show up the next morning, there's overusage, and we have a pretty neat system designed specifically to work a certain way. It was being utilized. I don't think it was being utilized at its fullest potential, let's put it that way. You know what I mean? And people do have other responsibilities, so they're not sitting there babysitting the machine, but
Yeah.
it's in the background, and we set an alarm now, so if something's going on, you don't have to have a visual, it'll just beep beep,
Yeah.
and it shows who it is.
So since this is ongoing, what do we think setting for the priority, high, medium, or low? Since we're already doing it,
I think it's a high priority. I mean, we're working on it constantly.
Do we have an I&I plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. We just, if you remember, I don't know if you remember, but God, I know, deal with a lot of this stuff. It was a month and a half ago. We had a team was out doing I&I, because they go out in the middle of the night and they can just drive over the road and they can hear leaks. It's pretty cool. And they found one over by the VFW, and we ripped up the whole road to the VFW, and it was pretty ugly. Because, the piping.
Yeah.
But, we just did Slocum Street, right, at a multi-million-dollar project. We had to do that main. I said, how are we gonna let that pipe go? It's a main coming in from the city of New Bedford.
Yeah.
The pipe really, it was 120 years old. Nye Street, Cleveland Street, the one where the VFW just blew that line over there. But the I&I program found that leak, and thank God it did, before things really got bad. And that's how you have collapsed roads, sinkholes,
Yeah.
things of the like, right? So we do have a plan on that. So our DPW superintendent and our former employee was always really good with staying up with all of that stuff. So hopefully we can continue to do that job as well as it was done in the past when it comes to that.
If you guys just want to look at like the first section, so we can just, as far as priority and then the timelines, 'cause that's pretty,
1-4, add board health to that,
what
Okay.
and board selectmen as well. I mean, I don't know, the expand sewer fade, to me, it's high priority. street, to me, it comes down to grants. If you can't find grants, expanding sewer is difficult.
So, Mr. Davinian, as you know, you were very instrumental in helping me lock down and secure what we call a host community agreement with PJ Keating. I negotiated on behalf of the soil board for 2.5 years with PJ Keating, and we get a 50 cents a ton with an escalator now in a host community agreement. And I made sure that those funds couldn't be diverted for budgetary reasons, because God forbid if something would ever happen to that company and you have to close down or whatever, we lost that revenue, it would extremely cripple our tax, our residents on tax roll. So it all goes to infrastructure. So as PJ Keating gets up and running, we're moving the plant out back and crushing plant out back. But once they get back up to full capacity, which is roughly 1 million tons a year, if we're still at the 50 cents a ton, it's $500,000 a year that can go to water, sewer, roadways, stormwater. It's all infrastructure related. The funds cannot be diverted anywhere else, and I made sure I locked that in. And I also, to protect the residents of Acushnet, you can't borrow on that money for more than a 10-year period. So if you were to go out and bond a project, you can, the maximum amount of time you can bond for is 10 years. So again, you can't kill my taxpayer, right? If the money goes away, what do? So it's great we can think about the money today and say, oh, let's just throw it all around and do whatever we want with it in budgets. But if the money ever disappears, it's gone. And once you put it towards a budget, it's gone forever anyway. You get an advantage 1 year, and it's history for the rest of its time. And now you're relying on that revenue stream, where the way we developed that HCA, it's reoccurring every year. The townspeople and the town reap benefits every year from that revenue, right? It's an investment in the community for 30 years. It's a 30-year agreement, so it's really pretty amazing stuff.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so these next two, 1-4 and 1-5, for goal
1-4, you're gonna change the date.
Yeah, it
Oh,
took
You
up
gotta
to-
put something in, put
Yeah.
2028 plus.
Yeah.
2029.
I mean, you can put for, like Mr. Davina just said, what's the harm? I mean, we're gonna put, high priority, obviously,
Yeah.
but the extended dates out, it doesn't really matter what that is. If an opportunity comes up, like, I'm very active with water and sewer, and we have Victoria in the planning office. She calls me up and says, hey, Kev, look at this, there's a grant, or Lizette from Serpent could do it, or one of you could do it, and say, hey, there's a bundle of money out there, 0% interest for the first 10 years or 20 years, whatever it is, want to go after it? Well, I'd be all over that, right? We would then just go, let's go get the money, right? And we can make things happen. The biggest, in this phase right here was, I have a lot of visions, and I won't discuss them all because I don't want people taking my ideas and getting credit for it. But if you put this main down Middle Road to Nice Lane, and I'm working with a private company, trying to talk to a private company about doing that, because down the road it could benefit the individual. But 90% of the 320 users on that phase right here from Nice Lane down, as I told you, 90% is on the west side of the road, which is all gravity fed down. So it's like a sweet spot, an easy go. And if I can get somebody to blow the main down Middle Road, my DPW staff, slowly but surely, could do all the side streets, just run the laterals down to the road. And the cost for sewer for 320 people, at least I'll say 275, because this side gets a little tricky because Ward Street's gonna have a pumping station. But everybody else on each side of Middle Road and all the west side, which is the majority of them, you're probably talking $7,500 to $10,000 for sewer, which is an absolute steal. I think if you read through that CWMP, Woodward and Curran had a projected price of going out with these projected goofy costs. It was something like $35,000, $40,000 per household. Nobody's doing that,
No.
But if I started knocking on doors, which I would do, to sell a project, I would absolutely go to 320 homes personally and sell the project to the people, I guarantee you, I could get 90+% of those people to say, sign me up. You know what I mean? At a reasonable rate, it might not even be 10, it could be 15, could be 17.5. We did 2008 sewer phase and it was like 14.5. So if I can tell people I could do it for the same cost that they did it 15 years ago, why wouldn't you do it? Who can say that? Right?
Yeah, anything on
But to go out and buy a brand new car for 50 grand,
you can't get a septic tank.
that lasts for 5 years, you know?
But you can't get a septic tank for less than 25 now.
Huh?
You can't get a septic installed for less than 25 unless you
So-
have ideal conditions, you might be able to get it.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the whole thing with the education campaign, and just
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Well, that-
And then you get to pay it over 20 years.
Yeah.
Or you pay it off, you know.
Yeah, you pay it all off
you
if you
know,
want.
You know.
Well, the nice option about that is if you had 320 people, we'll talk sewer phase, this sewer phase, right? This was 2, it was moved to 1, that was 1, we moved this one to 1. So it depends on what number you want to use, we just call it middle road sewer phase, right? If 320 people are on that sewer phase and then 200 people said, I'll pay you the cash up front, one shot payment, right? Bang, that's gonna drive down the cost now for the remaining people on the betterment that are financing it, right? Because it's less amount being borrowed out. You follow me?
Yeah.
So it's all about that, that's part of the education and being smart with financing, you need to be able to twist things around and poll people and see who's willing to do what,
Yeah.
you know? I'm really, I would love to get the middle road phase done because the amount of expansion I can capture off the middle road phase is phenomenal. I could get it all the way over to Main Street like that.
Yeah.
But I need to get that initial phase of pipe in. And after that, I'm off and running.
Yeah.
I can bring on hundreds or more and expand that sewer line all up Hamlin and all the way to Maine.
When you get there, just keep in mind those you talk to that have new systems. They're like, oh, I don't want to pay a sewer bill now.
You got 7 years?
Yeah, we stretched it.
10?
Yeah, we gave them 10.
You good.
Yeah, you know, so that people can have some use of what
That's
they
what,
got.
that's why I said the Board of Health is important to have that with the Board of Selectmen, that dialogue, open dialogue, because just like Mr. Davinia just did now with me, right? We're talking about it, and he goes, hey, I get it, you just had one, but I just had a neighbor, personal friend right next door to me. She just lost her husband. She just tried doing a perk test and it failed miserably. Before they even put water in the hole, the water started bubbling out of the hole.
Yeah.
Perk test failed. Right? And it's sad because the idea was for the kids, the daughter with her family now, to move in and either build up
Yeah.
or build an ADU, you know, and that option's pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Because we're smart, she's got a double lot, but it still don't matter, they got an in-ground pool and a double lot, it just doesn't work, the water table's too damn high. You know, our neighborhood was built on farmland, right? I mean, I got 2 sump pumps in my cellar that pretty much constantly run, kitty corner in each corner. And when October, November comes, psh, they just psh, psh. I mean, I can sell water to the town. But I'm only good for like 6 or 7 months, I can sell that water, so. But in my neighborhood, it's small lots. Some of them pass with flying colors. You drive by other houses in my neighborhood, there's 65, 67 houses in my neighborhood. Some of them have raised systems 3-4 feet out of the ground. It looks ugly as hell.
Yeah.
And other ones are perfectly flat, like Mr. Davinia said. Sometimes you get that spot where it's ideal soil conditions, everything's in place.
Yeah.
It's ironic, is the one right behind me, right next door to the one I said just failed. That was a perfectly flat, it was done 5, 6, 7 years ago, Blake's house. 5, 6, 7 years ago, perfectly flat. This one next door to me and the one down from me, it's not that bad of a hump, but the yard used to be really sloped, so they just filled that in, and that's what the leaching field is, you know? So it's like, people like that in my neighborhood, even myself, I mean, we'd love to bring sewer in just to get rid of the septic system / back then was cesspools, right? They're not even real septic systems. So, I mean, I know, speaking of people in my neighborhood, I'll bet you I could get 80% of my neighborhood to say, yeah, give me sewer. And I know there's a few in my neighborhood that would be like, Fall's one of them, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's all about for the right cost.
Yeah.
And we just gotta be creative on
Yeah.
how we do that. I think we got enough smart enough people to put it together and figure things out. I'm pretty confident in the people that we have, that we could figure something out depending on different opportunities that come up. And I just alluded to the HCA with, you know, we have that. And I know there's a little stash of money in sewer that we can use that most people don't know yet.
I have a 1955 original
That's a good amount of
septic
money,
system
too.
in my house.
Because of what?
1955 original system, 1,000-gallon tank.
Yeah.
Still working fine.
We do have
Aye, 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 what?
quite a bit to get through.
Oh, yeah.
Just for the sake of time.
So for the rest of the priorities for 1.14 and 1.5, what do you guys think?
I can't see why you don't put high and high, I don't.
Yeah, I'd say high for both.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
The first three are high, the next one's high.
yeah.
Apply the same.
By the way, regarding stormwater pollution, combined sewer overflows, and flooding, we are working on a regional stormwater collaborative, and we've been interviewing every single municipality in the southeast Massachusetts region. I interviewed you, but
Yeah.
was that for Mattapoisett or was it for Acushnet?
We did both.
Okay, yeah. We haven't gotten to New Bedford yet, but when we do, I will talk to them and make them aware of your concerns regarding their overflows that affect your town. And we think that that regional collaborative would be a good way to convene the town administrators and mayors and the New Bedford DPI, DPW heads, all those people, bring them together into a room so that what you expressed in tonight's meeting reaches them.
You might want to put Board of Selectmen on reduced stormwater pollution, because the Board of Selectmen who controls our MS4 engineer, which is our stormwater engineer. So without the Board of Selectmen, you're not getting too far.
Just automatically add a Board of Health too.
Did you delete Board of Health?
It wasn't there originally, let's see.
Dave, do you feel, I think maybe you should be part, if you're doing septic systems, right, as part of stormwater runoff and, I don't know.
For stormwater, for nature-based solutions and green infrastructure?
Yeah, I don't think that's our purview. We'll stay out of your wheelhouse.
Okay.
How about flooding concerns? That's related to 1.5.
Yeah, that seems like very complimentary. So I imagine high priority then, since it's a very similar strategy.
Yeah, you can put Goose Park on there. The
Goose
River
Park.
Park.
Oh, River's End.
No, the River Park
Riverview.
on River,
Yeah,
well, whatever they want to call it.
yeah.
But that road's flooded.
That's,
16 hours after a rainstorm, it stays flooded. I got a picture on my phone.
it's
I
because
just got it. I'm like,
that
yay, another
pipe is
complaint.
too high. I live in that area, and a lot of the times when it rains, you can't pass through it. You actually have to go around.
I know, I got a picture on my phone of the corner at the bottom of the road.
Yeah, I.
And I was like, what the hell is that? And they're like, that's 16 hours after a rainfall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was
It's
my
bad.
son that sent it
Yeah.
to me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, Dad, his girl lives right by there. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And I just showed Ryan it when we started the meeting. That's the corner, that's where River Park is.
Yeah, you can't pass through it. You have to
I
go
know,
around.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Did they do something, like, not that, like, a couple years back?
yeah, they put a nice, pretty sidewalk over there and
I thought they did.
put some
sort
curb
of
in there to
drainage.
block all the water from draining in naturally. We got rid of country drainage is what we did. Now, so the town is doing Slocum Street, and I've already thought of it. I'm like, oh boy, here we go, after I seen that. So the town's doing Slocum Street, and we have what they call an alternate aid bid to go through the parking lot by the Slocum Street Bridge. So it's all documented. I just worked with the lawyers on that, with easement language and all that. We're working out with the property owner. We already got approval through Concom and the property owner with an NOI. So I'm working on some easement language, and we got it all drawn up. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if we get that alternate aid done next spring, or maybe through the summer because of permitting with the US Army Corps, that pipe's gonna go through the parking lot, run parallel to the bridge. So if that's the case, I'll have DPW put a stormwater basin on that corner where it's collecting, and just run like a 12-inch pipe to that outfall pipe and it'll drop out there.
Okay.
Pretty easy to plumb that in and do the job. It's only a couple hundred feet of plastic pipe
Yeah.
with a stormwater basin manhole, so we can handle that. I'm thinking that's the best way to solve that problem, the quickest, fastest way to help out everybody in that area like you, that, oh, it rained, I gotta go up the street instead of down the street, right? It's dangerous for wintertime too, it freezes, right?
It is, yeah. It's
So-
very true. Yeah. Okay.
Working on it.
Thank you. So high, I think we said, right, because it's complementary to the other one. And then updating the drinking water IMA with New Bedford to support continued services.
Yeah, medium, because they're not very
Yeah.
cooperative, and
Okay.
we have it, but over the years, I have the last 3 intermunicipal agreements, we haven't had a new one in a long time.
Right.
I went through and sat down from like decades ago and watched them transpire over time. They just basically did whatever the hell they wanted to do with it, and they presented it to the old Board of Public Works. And the old Board of Public Works is like, no, we're not really in agreement with it. They're like, that's okay, we're gonna sign it, and that's your agreement. They kind of got us, they have us, what are we gonna do?
Huh.
We're gonna argue? All they do is shut off the spigot.
Hmm.
We're kind of at the mercy of the city, right? That's the downfall. You know what I mean? But we don't have any other means of getting the amount of water the townspeople consume.
Yeah.
I've watched people drill, old Board of Public Works, old boards of selectmen, drill this town like Swiss freaking cheese, and we don't have a drop of water to prove for it, right? We got wells plugged everywhere in this town. Never found significant water. So, and then you get wrapped up with the state anyway because they own the rights, mineral rights, right? So then you need withdrawal permits. And then you gotta go beg and plead with them, and then you tell you, nope, you can't take that much water out of the ground, this is what we're gonna allow you to do. So it's just, it's a nightmare, so you're better off just kissing the hand that's feeding you, right?
All right. 3.1, this is about taking ownership of the New Bedford Reservoir / Lake Street ponds. 3.1 is closely related to 4.1, distinguished only by the
Mr. Chairman.
focus. This is about ecological
Should
health,
we be doing that?
invasives.
No.
I say low, Mr. Chair.
So we kind of talked about that too. Sarah, I don't think you were here, but I know Joe was here and Victoria can recall that taking ownership of the lakes sounds great to a lot of people in the community if they're not knowledgeable about the lakes. And I have a lot of knowledge of the lakes, and there's certain people from the old days before that. First of all, they're not really lakes, they're streams. They were dredged in the old days, and certain property owners on that, we'll call them streams, lakes, whatever you want to call them, own to the center line of those streams, deeded to the center line of those streams. So you're not ever really taking ownership. You might take ownership of water rights, but you're not taking ownership of land rights. So it's very convoluted, regardless of what any new person from city's DPI or anybody within this town might want to tell you. It's very complicated, and I don't think it's something that it's worth the town of Acushnet, looking at and seeing what we could do to help the health of the lakes, right? But taking ownership is probably next to nil.
I don't want to take ownership of the maintenance bills
Uh-huh.
of the lakes.
So should we just cross this out altogether?
Well, you guys there's a recreational agreement with New Bedford?
We do. The Board of Selectmen, through one of my colleagues, we put him in charge, Selectman Lona, went and negotiated a 25-year recreational agreement with the city of New Bedford, right? But that is, it was in great spirit, but again, we just went through a practice over this summer of trying to weed abatement. And there's some different technologies that I'm actually speaking with some very interesting people on for weed abatement that could be a lot cheaper. But we just stuck 2 boats in those lakes for 2 weeks, and it cost us $110 grand, and they basically got I'm gonna call it, and I'll probably be generous because I have pictures on my phone where we brought the waste weeds to, 10 triaxles if you're lucky, for
What?
110 grand. And it cleaned up by the roadway, so it's a lot better for families to go fishing, but it didn't do crap to the conditions of those lakes. So we have millions, the moral of that story is, we have millions of dollars to spend, and then you have probably $500,000 a year on regular maintenance to keep them out once you clear them. And I don't even know if that's even feasible after you spend millions of dollars. So there's somebody that I just had a conversation with, I don't know how that conversation was struck, and she alluded to some different technologies that we just had a very short, vague conversation, so I will have more in-depth conversations with them on it. But I can assure you that the guys from Connecticut with their little boats probably ain't gonna get any more money from the taxpayers of Acushnet, I can tell you that, because for 110 grand, and I watched it all occur, and I took pictures as it happened, I wasn't very happy. It was a great effort to see what that would turn out as an experiment,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was very successful.
So part of the recreational agreement, you can actually do stuff like that, where you can remove a bunch of weeds and stuff from the reservoir?
They talked about chemicals, but then we got in the bog's up for sale now, 'cause I actually know the guy that owns the bog. He's trying to sell, but who knows if somebody else is gonna buy it for a bog, or I know they're not gonna buy it for development, because if you think perk testing's difficult everywhere else in town, you try drilling a perk test on a cranberry bog and you go down about a foot and you're springing water out of the ground, right?
Yeah.
So, good luck with that. It was an old sand gravel pit.
It took all material out.
Yeah, when I was a baby,
All the good stuff.
Yeah.
right? Then it turned into a cranberry bog, and I actually know the guy that owns it. So I'm very familiar with the property. It's beautiful. It's like 80 acres. The problem is there's not much good use to it other than cranberry bogs. And he's got beautiful bogs. And he's got a certain kind of berry that he can sell to Ocean Spray, which not a lot of people have those berries. And they're able to sell directly into Ocean Spray, but he's just tired, and he's got bogs up in Maine and other locations that he just, he's at the age where he just can't handle the capacity of what he's got anymore. So he's selling some properties off, right? So
So
You
the
have right
invasives,
of first refusal for, right?
I don't know if that's in chapter.
I think it is.
the invasives removal, were,
66,000, I don't designated.
was that the eco harvester you're referring to? That was 110,000?
Nothing.
Yeah, the guy pulling the weeds, the two boats. I don't know, I forgot the name of the company. Great company, great people. They do it from, I think they talked about from Florida all the way to Maine, up the East Coast, but, well, look, it's just, I don't know what other people are doing, and they're spitting out, suitcases of $1 million to the company, but we just blew 110 grand for basically 9 days of service. And I went to Quaker Mills where everything was brought, and I do have the pictures in there, and I'm telling you right now, I spoke to certain individuals that were responsible for it, and I said, this ain't gonna work out long-term for us, because we're talking millions of dollars. And I can tell you right now, Acushnet taxpayers are not gonna pay millions of dollars for only the people living on the lakes to benefit from the lakes, right? And that's pretty much what it comes down to, outside of a few people fishing.
Right, that
But
makes
you
sense.
guys already have like the capacity, you guys already have the ability to remove invasives from the reservoir. You wouldn't need to take ownership of the reservoir to do that?
No.
Okay, so we can change the language of that. Just-
We've done it, and I would
Yeah.
keep it, I wouldn't get rid of it. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of people interested in trying to, you look at the one of, I call it the northeast pond, right, the one further up the hill. It's still, that one's still owned as a one on the little baby one, this, we call it the southeast pond, right? You got the north, you got the south, you got the northeast, and then the northwest pond, southeast pond, the little baby one, that's a mud pit now, but even that one could be really, it needs to be dredged out, and there's no real weeds, just all dead weeds. But I think if we find a process that can do it, without it just dropping the dead weed to the ground, and they keep growing and we keep killing dead weeds, they're gonna end up like that little baby pond. It's just gonna be a lake full of muck.
Yeah.
So we gotta, there's different things always coming about, different technologies on how to do things without hurting. There's 3 different property owners, I think, spoke very loud at conservation about using chemicals, because they have withdrawal permits from DEP, so they have water rights to the lakes as well. So you can't chemicalize the water. because they're putting it on their crops. Although, the more and more people I talked about that, the chemical is pretty much useless after 3 or 4 days because of the way it drains into the beds of the water. I mean, these farmer people are way smarter than I am on it, but it's pretty amazing stuff. But when you start telling people you're gonna put a chemical and they're gonna use that water to put on their bog, you know, the guy told me, when my berries get refused from Ocean Spray, what do you want me to drop the truckloads of berries? What parking lot?
Yeah.
So,
Was Keith's one of the three, or is Keith's excluded from the three?
oh, he's gonna withdraw a permit as well,
Right, but that's not operational.
you know, not anymore.
So when they all become.
And I don't know what's happening with that's when I was going on the other side behind White's.
Yeah, I
the
agree,
Lions
it's not
thing.
necessary.
It might be
Yeah,
an
it's not-
opportunity,
they have the ability
they all shut down
Mhm.
to
to
hit
remove food
the
bases.
thing with
Oh,
chemicals.
yeah, but this, I gotta talk to the girl,
That's easy.
she sprung it on me, and I'm like, because I started talking.
Are we saying low priority here?
Very-
We're
very
gonna take out.
We can cross it out because
We're gonna
we
take
see
out
now
take
ownership isn't necessary.
Yeah, so ownership isn't necessary, just based, so we'll keep it as managing maintenance and stewardship for
Yeah, similar
recreational
to
purposes.
3-2, right? Just best management practices to maintain them.
Right.
Yeah, essentially
Quality of
just
pond.
continuing, like, management of invasives to the best of your abilities without.
We owe it to ourselves. I mean, with the city, in one of the intermunicipal agreements, and I know I seen it there, because I seen it somewhere, and the only place it could have been was the original one from decades ago. They took ownership, because they own the water rights, it's in there that they would manage weeds. And then over time, they just said, that's gonna cost us too much money, get that out of our agreement, get that out of our agreement, get that out of our agreement, right? Like I said, our previous Board of Public Works was like, whoa, we're not signing this, like, this is a crappy agreement. And they just said, that's fine, it's signed by the city, you don't need to sign it, but that's the deal,
Yeah.
you know? So that's how we ended up, but I think we owe it, not only to ourselves, to our future generations, to try to do something and preserve, you know, our parks and recreation as best we can, and wildlife and habitat, right?
Mhm. I was speaking to James Souza from the Conservation Commission about this issue of the invasives at Lake Street Ponds, and he mentioned the eco-harvester that costs $5,500 a day, and then he also mentioned that the other thing they've been doing is removing invasives and weeds at the bottom of those water bodies by hand, scuba-assisted hand pulling.
Ooh.
So, is that familiar to you?
I don't know, maybe we could put a suit on Mr. Souza and see how he makes out diving.
Yeah, apparently he does that
But
personally as
I
well.
don't know, you know, what kind
Sounds
of,
like you just volunteered.
what kind of cigar he had in his mouth when he told you that, but, I can tell you right now, so that boat that you just talked about, that $5,500, we had 2 boats at $5,500 a day. It was 11 grand a day, okay? So could you imagine an individual, a diver?
Yeah, it's just.
I mean-
It's impossible. The ponds are just so overrun. They-
It's,
They, you know, the
I got
lack of-
pictures of the ponds, man, especially upstream.
Northeast pond is
It's
just
bad,
horrendous.
man. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, there's a lot smarter people than I am with weed abatement,
It's all in the
and
middle.
it just goes back to
Even then.
certain people, and Mrs. Davinia just talked about it. If Keach Street Farm was one with a withdrawal permit and they're no longer in business, right? And then you have Braley's, the orchard, they're using it, so, but how often do they use it, and what months do they use it? So maybe you could use chemical because they're not actually using irrigation in certain portion, I don't know, we'd have to speak to the individuals with the permits and say, what kind of window do you have? I mean, if you have more than a 10, 15-day window where you're not using it, you can definitely use chemicals. I know enough smart enough people, and they own cranberry bogs, and they use it in their ponds. So, if it's good for the pond that I owned, and I'm using it on my bog, a chemical to keep the weeds out, why couldn't we use the same chemical in the lakes? And they using that water for their bogs, right?
Yeah.
I think it was just kind of a shock, the way that certain people went about doing it, right? And I think, again, it's that educational period that you have. We talked about that with sewer, right? I think the same thing happens here is you'll do a little bit better job educating people before you just jump the gun and say, we're diving in the water as scuba gear, with our scuba gear, and we're gonna pull out the weeds. I mean, that, no way in hell is somebody going in with a diving suit and pulling weeds. I mean, phew. I needed one of them cigars.
Okay.
40 years.
4.2, identify and develop more recreational access along local water bodies, including the Acushnet River and the reservoir. Who would be the responsible parties for that?
I think probably kind of same themes as the ones above, aside from.
You know, it's a shame, I'll tell you what a shame is the Acushnet River, it's identified in that line, right? And if you, I travel, Mr. Resendes knows about it, because him and I have gone into certain conservation land in the past, looking at mischief going on. But the Acushnet River, unfortunately, nobody's ever taken care of and getting rid of the debris that's falling into the river, right? And that's creating congestion in the river. It's not flowing the way it should and holding back water in different areas where now we have places flooding because the river's not flowing naturally anymore.
What kind of debris is that? Is that from tree materials?
Trees, branches,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you get kids in there doing things and building bridges. I'll just building bridges out of pallets and
Yeah.
not really knowing what
I
they're
see
doing
at
with it.
the estuary at the golf course, the estuary that comes to the golf course, there's all kinds of crap.
Yeah, so if that's one of them, right, you drive Lake Street, you can see where the river goes through. You go down Middle Road over here, right after the old war property, I know Mr. Davinian knows what I'm talking about there. The river goes underneath of the road there. You look on both sides of that road, everything's just being grown in, almost like Lake Street is with lily pads. It's different invasive species growing out of the river, and then you get crap falling from the trees and everything else in the wind, and it's a shame. And you know, I always wondered about
Like
that,
the
is
city
who
cleaned out so we kayak down the whole thing.
could, yeah, we used to go from, which the Hamlet Street Pond's not even a Hamlet Street Pond anymore, because they took the planks out of it years ago, right, trying to drain out the land, but that didn't work out too well for them. And we used to canoe up from Hamlin Street Pond, and we'd be able to go pretty far up, almost to the golf course in a canoe. That's how wide that river used to be. And it's like just, I mean, that river used to be, call it, I don't know, I'll be generous, I'll say 30 feet wide. It's probably 10, 12 feet wide now,
Yeah.
right?
And
And
you've
that's a
noticed-
problem. I mean, it sucks that over the last 50 years, nobody's had the foresight to say, we need to be in there cleaning this stuff out and maintaining the river, right? So that it doesn't end up this way in 30, 40, 50 years, right?
You've
That's
noticed
part of the-
trash and litter as well?
You're gonna get it from anywhere where there's a road, right?
It's not so much trash, it's more
Ladders, yeah.
organics, you know, trees falling, branches and stuff like that.
That ties into 3.2 as well, because sometimes, you know, just for like restoring fish habitats, just moving stuff out of the river so that fish can be able to migrate, like herring.
You can, I mean, I don't know, like put medium on.
Can
That's
we-
what if that's what we're discussing on 3.2?
Can we add a line item about
Absolutely, yeah.
developing a maintenance plan or some, whatever you want to word it, to clean out the Acushnet River, to make it actually kayak canoe friendly? I mean,
Yeah.
it used to be a long time ago, and I'm not sure how you do that, mosquito control. Let them have at it for a couple of weeks.
Mosquito and tick control?
I think we talked about this in the OSRP as well, as far as the Acushnet River.
I think it would be a lot, I agree with Mr. Davinian, right? It would be, I think our residents would enjoy the river upstream versus putting yourself in the PCB harbor
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
and paddling around out there, right? They would rather pick off at
Pass slope.
the sawmill over here, the
Yeah.
Buzzards Bay.
I
and
tried
then
that.
you can-
You take a canoe and you get up just a little ways and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, and you can shoot right up, or you can start from up there and float your way down, right? And you never have to paddle upstream. I mean, some people, enthusiastic people that are trying to be in shape, they want to paddle upstream, right? Other people might start at Hamlin Pond and just float down the river a little, and for a scenic route, right?
Yeah.
Instead of nature trailing to nature river, right? Whatever you want to call it. But great if we could do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably similar responsible parties, probably Concom, I think, or anything to do with like transportation access as well.
Yeah, that just ties into all the trail maintenance stuff too.
Yeah.
It's in the same category, so whoever would be doing the trail maintenance stuff should be responsible for that as well.
And the conservation agent?
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, it's one of the same agents, but,
Okay.
Basically,
part of the commission, but,
Yeah.
the right way.
so developing a coordinated wayfinding and signage model for water access within publicly owned properties. I know we have a similar goal for trail signage as well in the OSRP, right?
Yeah, I think that was a medium
Mm-hmm.
priority on that one. No,
We're
it's
thinking medium
Yeah.
here as
Yeah.
well. Okay.
And all of these should be ongoing for the next decade?
Yes.
Yeah, I would put them in one go.
I mean, that's, stuff like that, I mean, that's in perpetuity in my eyes, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if we, you know, I say we, because there's a certain generation that's gonna fund it initially, right? And it's us. And then you would hope that future generations would aspire to keep that, those resources for future generations to come, right? You hear me talk about future generations all the time, right? What are we leaving behind for our future generations, right? So when it comes to developing and all that stuff, but, you know, I think we need to at least try to do a better job and getting inside the river. Maybe you do something we used to do in, years and years ago, town cleanup day. I forgot what day that was. You remember what day?
I think it was
Earth Day? Earth Day. So we would do a big town cleanup, you know, we put together a thing, you get coffee and donuts in the morning, you'd get a bunch of big giant plastic bags, some rubber gloves, some tweezy things, and we'd go along roadside and pick up all the garbage and stuff like that. It was for Earth Day. I mean, you could do something similar in the spring and summer months in the river. And you get a bunch of yahoos out there in their kayaks, and we go up there with our machetes or whatever it may be, and, you know, the gas trimmers, and, you know, we make a plan and you do several hundred feet. I mean, even if you did, you know, 1,000 feet a year, for crying out loud, at least you're getting something done.
Yeah, we'll
Yes.
we'll have to talk to Karen, because like, for one of the things I did a couple of months ago is we just went to, they had some, a woman there who was an expert in identifying invasive species, and we just went to a park and pretty much just pointed out all the invasive species and removed it from like one park. And then there was like, I don't know, probably 12 volunteers there, and like, they moved a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
then the town DPW came and picked up
Yeah,
all the stuff.
yeah. They, DPW does it for the Earth Day. We would just leave all the bags on the side of the road, and they come in and, you know, Monday morning, pick them all up. So,
Utilize volunteers when you can. You know?
Yeah.
well, that's what I'm saying. We always talk, I mean, you've heard us, and myself included, we always talk about everything's, you know, the almighty dollar, right? But there's certain things we're identifying in a master plan that the only thing it's really gonna cost is time.
Yeah.
And if you can get good people, which I know we can, this community is a very strong community. When you ask for something, we're pretty powerful.
Yeah.
You know, I always talk, and Dave Davinian, with him and I are pretty much, I don't know, what are we, a year or two apart, and people laugh. My girl does it all the time. She talks about it all the time. Like, I don't understand how, and Mr. Boucher the same way, and he's coming along, he's a little younger, but they always laugh and they say, I can't believe you guys have been friends for this long and you're still friends and you still hang out together, right? I mean, my brother just had a party at his house, an ugly sweater party last Saturday, and people that we hung out with 40 years ago were there. You know what I mean? We're still all good friends. And people are always out, like outsiders, they're always amazed at that. They're like, I don't know anyone that I went to junior high school with that I'm still hanging around with. But Acushnet is that community. We're very powerful when we want to be, and when we ask everybody to chip in, you'll find a good portion of our residents are there to do it. And they'll join in for the cause. They really will. Whether they do it physically or they'll do it monetarily. They'll say, if you need a donation, I can't volunteer my time, but if you need a donation, you know, I can offer this service for you, right? Or I can provide this money for you. right, if you need something. So I think that these are things in the master plan that would be great,
Yeah.
and it'll give back like the nature trails, right? We have all this land, but we don't, it's underutilized, right? And figure out a way, if wherever our land is, a way to get from one side of town to the other, with just maybe a bendy road where all kinds of wacky trails, so that again, we have police patrols that can just zip down the road, the fire department on quads, and gauge everything for public safety, make sure there's not bad things happening. But as far as the nice nature trail goes, I mean, you always gotta be in the mindset about public safety, and not allowing like motor vehicles getting down a trail, right? But we can design, you know, we own significant land, we can design some pretty cool nature trails and, you know, design it in a way where public safety can easily access it and take a cruise down on the quads. The fire department's got them, the PD's got, I think, you know, like mountain bikes, but electric ones now, or whatever they have. I think they even have a quad, so they can easily be patrolled by public safety, right?
That ties into forestry management as far as wildfire concerns too, having these access routes so that if there was ever a fire like in town forest, you'd be able to.
We got
get
some
down
old
there.
ones, Perkins Lane, right, Mr. Rosendes? It's an old fire lane. It's funny because it still says no parking this side of the road.
Yeah.
And it's an old fire lane, and I drove down there in my truck, and I got to a point where there ain't no way a fire truck's getting down there. You know, but I made it down pretty far, and I was like, I'm all set. I'm gonna spin this puppy around, but, you know, if we could do a lot of things and do it right, and make it so that it is safe for our public to use these trails without being compromised with, you know, some of the bad things that can happen in nature trails in wooded areas, right?
One of the things that we were talking a couple of months ago was the Keith's Farm thing and the land trust.
Yeah.
And all the possibilities with that could open up from spring through early fall, and the people coming there, and the people we can get to come and help us with these kinds of things.
We just
Volunteer.
need to develop, and I don't know how easy that relationship will be to develop with the Acushnet Fayetteville Land Trust, but it's something that I know, the Board of Selectmen are interested. We talked to her not too long ago on that White's factory thing on Hamlin Street, trying to, the board felt pretty strongly of preserving that factory. She really wanted it down because of liability issues, so, you know, we have a whole host of things that the Board of Selectmen and the town's dealing with right now, and, you know, as we're going through and prioritizing this, that's what the Board of Selectmen have to do at the point that we're at right now, is look at different things and say, that's a low priority for us right now. We got more important issues to be tackling at this current time, but similar to what we're doing with the master plan.
What you've been saying about supporting and encouraging volunteer-led initiatives, Earth Day, could also be ordinary days. That's not currently reflected in our goals and strategies so far. Would you like to add that?
Yeah,
Volunteer.
I'd be glad to help out with some of those volunteering exercises.
I mean, it's not, and I know everybody in the room is gonna say something because I use this terminology constantly, it's not rocket science, right?
Right.
There's certain things that I just told you that we, the community, the town of Acushnet is a very powerful community, right? If people need support, families need support, if they reach out to this community, we will come and answer that calling, right? Same thing goes for something like this. You have plenty of people that are in this community, they're just not being asked to do something, right? But if we put an initiative in place saying every year, this is a schedule, this is our goal, this is what we're gonna go do, I think you'll get quite a few people to share on that initiative. And some people might say, I'm not interested in getting in the kayak and chasing Mr. Davinian with his machete. But there's those people who might say, I'm interested in doing walking trails through this part of the forestry property that the town owns, so I want to be on that team, right? And then you have this team, and you develop different teams, right? People can join a team whenever they want. It's just about getting an initial half dozen people on each team to say, let's go out and conquer this, and then the team will decide where we start and what the end goal is, right? And you might get certain teams, like let's call it the River Team, starting at the Buzzards Bay of Coalition, probably the old Acushnet Sawmills, and working our way up. The River Team, you know, might get a mile of river done. The trail team's gonna go, well, we only got 300 feet of trail done, we need to catch up to the river team, right? So now it becomes a competition,
Yeah.
you
This
know?
is music to my ears. You know, I want to tell you, my husband and I, we drive all the way to Somerville, Massachusetts, Somerville, near Tufts University, to do invasives removal. Why are we going that far? Well, because we're new to this region, to southeast Massachusetts, and we just don't know about the opportunities. Where is that work needed? So we're driving all the way to Somerville to do invasives removal on our weekends, our free time. We did it this past weekend, and we founded this organization called Rewilding Massachusetts. And so far, our volunteer base of 50 people is all based in the greater Boston area. We just don't know anybody, enough people. We're not connected to the community where we live now because we moved in January. But from our perspective, what's needed to organize people is you have to put it on a calendar, like the town calendar, and you have to have an email
Yeah.
newsletter and be very clear that in these locations, see this map, these coordinates, these stretches of the Acushnet River are the areas that need help, and we're going to provide the supplies, the gloves, the picker tools. Like that is something that probably the town could help support, because otherwise then you're asking volunteers to spend their own money, as we've been doing. We've been paying out of pocket buying these materials and supplies, but
Once we came up with that, so that's great, right? So if we come up with a plan, that's pretty easy, right? We have people like you that have the experience doing these kind of things. You let us know what kind of tools that we need to purchase, right? And we say, we'll take a wild swing and just say, we're gonna have 50 people on a team. What kind of tools we need for this project, what kind of tools we need for that project. The town has free cash, okay? It's for one-time expenditures. We could easily ask the townspeople, this is the reason why we want $20,000 for this. This is the reason why we're asking you for $10,000 for that. We buy the tools, we keep them in one safe location, right? And it's only used by the teams, and making sure everything's returned after every usage, right? And we just go at it.
Just one, I know at least a dozen people I could get now to help with this kind of stuff. That's one person.
We just got our first volunteer right there.
let's talk.
No, you and your husband, we just,
Yeah.
2 people right there, Betty.
Yeah, Fairhaven is closer
We haven't
than
even left the
Somerville
room
anyway.
yet. Joe's sitting there going, I ain't doing it.
I went to Middleborough. Middleborough's friendly for me. I live down in Falmouth. I'll come to Acushnet and do some work.
Bam, we got 3 volunteers.
Yeah, I'll join the river team.
We start working.
I'm gonna be on the river team. I got the swamp boat, the fan boat, and all our job is to float around behind all you guys with the kayaks, making sure the job's getting done right.
We finished with this one?
Yes, all done.
We're done.
Okay. Alrighty.
Is that it?
I think so,
Yes.
unless anyone has anything else.
Nope, motion to adjourn?
No, whoa. Give me 1 second. I want to publicly thank Victoria, our town planner, members of Serpent. I know Lizette's not here. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, a happy, healthy New Year. And the same goes for all my committee members. I wish you all a Merry Christmas, a happy, most importantly, a healthy New Year to you and your families. And for everybody else that's out there that might be watching it, that's not present tonight, that is on this committee, same goes to you and your families as well. Merry Christmas, happy, healthy New Year. Enjoy the holidays and be safe.
Thanks, Mr. Gasper, you too.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait a minute, roll call vote. Mr.
Robert.
Resendes?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. DeVinion?
Yes.
I am a yes, and Peter, are you still on Zoom? Peter?
They could go sleep.
And we'll just let him abstain from the last vote, because we don't know if we lost contact with Peter, but Peter, and the rest of you guys, thank you very much.